Welcome to the 4 Pillars of Men's Health, a podcast of resources for restoring vigor and vitality, bringing you top influencers in the men's health arena, case studies of men who have succeeded and how they did it, and cutting-edge teaching on men's health issues from America's leading men's health guru, Dave Skattum. Get ready to take steps towards good health. Here's your host, Dave Skattum.
Hey, welcome to the 4 Pillars of Men's Health. And I'm so glad you're with us today. I have a really fun podcast ahead. I know this guy for a while, but I've been going through this process of talking to guys about their story and their journey to what has worked for them in regards to health and fitness and all these things we've been talking about. And I'm especially excited today. I'm interviewing a guy that I've had on my show before, and I call him the PMA PhD, the doctor of a positive mental attitude. Hey, Mike, I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for being with us and sharing your thoughts with us today. Welcome to the 4 Pillars of Men's Health once again.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. You know, it's always a pleasure to be on your show, and it's an honor to be a part of the Napoleon Hill Foundation with you.
Yeah.
Cool. Anytime I can be of service, anytime I can just give a encouraging word or a hand up, you know what I mean? That's what it's all about.
Cool. That's awesome. So a little background about Mike. I know a little bit about him. He's born and raised California guy, surfer dude, all that stuff, bodybuilder. Was in Hollywood for a while doing some stuff there. Has this great family. Now he's a realtor up in northern Idaho, just a beautiful area up there around Lake Coeur d'Alene. And like Mike said, we met each other through the Napoleon Hill Foundation, and the rest is history. And we're looking forward to what Mike has to say today. And hey, Mike, I always like to start these off with just what is getting Mike out of bed in the morning? What's on your front burner these days?
The vision. It's always about the vision, right? My PMA is prayer, meditate, and action. That gives me the positive mental attitude. But mainly, God gets me out of bed. Sometimes I'm sitting there, and sometimes I hop out of bed and I go after it. Sometimes I feel like I don't want to get out of bed, and I get after it.
Yeah. Roll over and groan.
I got a little intro for you. This is one of my favorite intros. Let me see if I can dial it up for you. And this is for what we're talking about right now.
Let's hear it.
And it's called Right Now. And,
cool.
And that's what it's all about right now. This one's Van Halen, and this is Right Now. If you get that song and you listen to the words, it's really powerful. And like when I go speak on stage, I'll always ask them, hey, can you cue this up right here to Right Now? Yeah. Because it's the thing that gets me out of the bed in the morning. I put that on, and it's like I feel it, I see it, and then I go to it. But basically, getting out of the bed in the morning, my idea of a perfect day is to get up in the morning, get in my jacuzzi, and it might be 3 or 4 in the morning, and just like see exactly what it is that my life's purpose is, and And then once I get that, then I'm ready to go. Once I get that vision, once I get that momentum, then I'm ready to go. And then the next thing I do, I think the really most important thing for me is what I've experienced for me to have that perfect day. Every day is I yearn for that perfect day, right? I get up in the morning. This is what I yearn for. It doesn't happen every time, but when it does happen, it is the perfect day. So I get up.
It's like
go ahead. I get up and
it's like when you're in Southern California, it's like finding that perfect wave.
Exactly. It's exactly like that. When you hit that perfect wave, and that you're all alone out there, and you see this once, you just get this feeling. You paddle out a little further. You think you're in the right spot. You don't even know what you're doing. Then all of a sudden, you get this little glimpse of something coming at you, and you turn around, you paddle, And the next thing you know, you caught the raddest wave, and you drop in, and you do that bottom turn, and then you hold right there in the pocket, and it just like curls over you, and you just go, what the heck just happened? And then you come back out, and then spits you out, and then there you are. That's your perfect day. So you know what? Our days, we will get spit out. We do get spit out, but you know what? Have the perfect day. When you started out right, when you started out on your terms, and you finish what you want to accomplish for yourself in the day before you start your day, the day can spit you out. But you still got in that barrel, and you still got that thing that you wanted to accomplish done. And so nothing can stop you from having that perfect day.
That's awesome.
That's a really good analogy.
That's great.
I'm glad you brought it up.
That's really cool. That's good. Hey, so I always like to start the serious questions off like this. I'm like a kind of an amateur historian. I love like reading back through like history and learning about. And when I think of men's health, my mind kind of wanders back to the Greek and Roman era. And in my mind, I picture this great Michelangelo that's out there with his hammer and his chisel, and he's taking this big piece of massive granite or whatever rock it was, and he's chiseling this perfect, in his mind, the perfect man. And so if Mike Green could put like a perfect man up on one of those Greek columns or Roman columns like they have in Europe, what would that look like to you? What is a perfectly healthy man? How would you define that?
Wow, that's a really big question. I think to have the perfect man, first of all, there's nothing we can do as far as we can sculpt that, we can chisel that, we can do all that stuff, but for that man to breathe, God has to breathe into him. And so for that to happen, you have to acknowledge him. You have to acknowledge him, and he'll design that man. Like it's like looking in the mirror, you want to become the best version of yourself. And for you to become the best version of yourself, you have to look within yourself and find the spark that God put in you, and then you have to nourish that. So you take that seed, and then you constantly are in that communion with God, in asking Him, and just constantly being in a place of, I guess a place of meditation. People say meditation, and they may get a little esoteric, but what I mean is like be still and know that He is God, that He that dwells in you is greater than of the world. And so the inspiration and the enthusiasm to build that man, to chisel that man to the piece of perfection would come from God. And so taking it one step at a time, the number one thing that we have to do to make that perfect man is we have to develop his mind. Because if we don't develop his mind and chisel his mind and cut out all the negative thinking and cut out all the things that somebody had spoken into that person in a negative way, with overriding now, not taking away, but overriding, because it's in the overriding of the thoughts. It's not taking away, because we can't focus on the reverse of an idea. We have to focus on what we want to become. We have to focus on the person that you want to design. So then you take that stuff, and then you sculpt that away, and you see the one person that you want to become, or that sculpt of that image out of it, and then you keep building on what it is that you see, and you develop that and those positive thoughts and those inspiration, and you stay in that, like what they call a flow, right? Where you stay in that flow of PMA, that positive mental attitude, because you have something greatness inside of you. You have this thing that wants to come out and develop that thing and make the thing that God wants you to do, whatever it is, whatever gifts, talents, and abilities that you are gifted with wants to come out and develop that man in that perfect image. And that's when you do that, you feel on top of the world. You feel like, the highest of the highs, because you're doing exactly what you want to do, and you're in that place where you're supposed to be, and you can feel it. I don't know if I got off tangent there.
So okay, so
it does start in the mind.
Yeah, I asked you, your idea of a perfect man. So you brought up this, this idea of God breathing in you and creating energy and those kinds of things. So what do you say? I know there's a lot of people out there listening that aren't like lined up with that. They're skeptical about this whole spiritual thing and God and all that. So what do you like? They're rolling their eyes right now at you. Like, what are you talking about, Mike? How that makes no sense.
Well,
so
let's just go back a little bit.
Yeah.
Back when I always say kid,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm talking about 14, somewhere around there. Yeah. At some point in your life, you could be sitting on a jetty and thinking, God, what? You don't even say God. You just say, what's out there? You're looking up at the stars, and you're seeing those stars, and you're going, well, who made those? Is there something greater than us? Is there an infinite being? There's got to be something out there, man. This is too cool. I mean, how did this even come about? And so it's just that little thing, that little thought. And when you say something like that, and you ask the universe, you ask God, whatever you want to call it at that point, you just say to reveal yourself, or are you real? Are you really out there? Am I just imagining this, or is this something that somebody created? But when you ask that, I think that God reveals himself to you in a way that will touch you, whether it's your heart or your soul. And so then it's a different path. I mean, then all of a sudden things open up to you. You see things that you never had seen before. Your eyes are open, your ears are open. You see things, and things will happen to you. And maybe circumstances will you might be in a circumstance, and then all of a sudden something will speak to you directly. And that's how it was for me. And I wasn't raised in a Christian home. I wasn't, I was out. My mom and dad said, you know what, we're going to do an experiment with this boy. We're not going to teach him religion. We're not going to teach him anything. And we're going to let him, we're just going to see what happens to him.
Yeah. Wow.
And so they did. And, my brothers, sisters, we didn't go to church or anything like that. Only time we went to church or something like that was when somebody died, or there was a funeral or a wedding. And,
wow.
And so it was more of a journey on my own to really, maybe because of surfing and being around the ocean, I could see things that were just incredible. It's kind of like living in the mountains, I mean, you see these rivers and these lakes, and you see these birds and these animals that are just like, okay, something's bigger than this, and so that's where it starts. And, like you might be in a place in your life where you're at a crossroads. Because that's where I was on that jetty. I tell you what, I was sitting on that jetty, and I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. And I was at a point in my life where, maybe I want to jump off the jetty, maybe this was a place where, hey, you know what, God, are you here, or is this just not real? I mean, because I was having a lot of problems, a lot of challenges at that point in my life. And so that's where things really started to develop in my life, in my spiritual walk, I guess, because after that, I did go to juvenile hall, and somebody asked to pray with me, and I'm like, go away, I don't know what you're talking about. Stay over there. I'll stay on my side of the room. And then, one thing led to another. That's when I ended up getting, well, I'll tell you real quick, I know, because this is a really big point in my life when I look back now. And that's when that kid asked me that, I thought he was crazy. Just like you were talking about, right? You were just talking about that, like somebody might think you're crazy for thinking like that. And that's exactly the way I felt. And so then like a week went by, and I go, you know what? I need a prayer or something. This guy has something that he has that I need. Hey, maybe you could pray for me. He says, I got enough prayers to cover both of us. And so I don't even remember what he prayed for, but I just, honestly, I just remember this. I remember walking out of that door at juvenile hall, and the big door slammed, and my dad was out there waiting in the car. And I got in the car, and he's sitting there all stern looking at me, and I'm like, he's going, Mike, what's up? He's like, what do you want to do with your life? And I'm like, I don't know, Dad. I just know one thing. I don't want to come back here ever again, and I don't want to pick up weeds anymore. just like that. And I'm serious. And tracking weeds on the weekend, every weekend for a long time. And anyway, so he goes, okay, Mike, okay. Well, you know what? Listen to this. And he takes a dentist, Dr. Dennis Waitley, psychology winning. I have it here in my office with me still to this day. And he plugs it into his 1979 Firebird car with the cassette deck, plops it in there and says, you're going to listen to this, man. And it's a psychology winning.
Wow.
And I'm like, what is that, Dad? Just put some AC/DC on or something. Come on, man. I just got out. You know? And he's like, no, you're going to listen to this. And it was about a half an hour ride home. And so I was like, okay, Dad, whatever you say. And so I listened to it. And then all of a sudden, with about 10 minutes, man, something clicked, dude. I mean, something clicked. I mean, you know, maybe it was like you're at a turning point in your life. You know, it's your time for decision, you know, and what are you going to do with it? You're responsible. And, you know, you become what you think about. I mean, there was all this stuff that was in there that just, like, caught my attention. And I'm like, wow, this guy knows his stuff. This is real. Wow. And, you know, I talked to Dennis Wade. He's a good friend of mine. And,
really?
You know, I mean, and I'm part of his beta testing on a lot of his stuff.
Wow.
But he's a super guy. He's 90 years old. And,
really?
I think he's 90 this year. He'll be 90 this year. Same age as my dad. And, and he said, you know, when I wrote that program, The Psychology of Winning, he said, you know, I was going through one of the hardest times of my life. I was going through a divorce. I had 5 kids, and I was raising them myself. And, you know, and Earl Nightingale discovered him through, you know, Nightingale Cognac. And he sent his little program into him, and Earl and Vic got together, and they produced this program, and it became one of the top-selling programs of all time. Even this today, he's up there with Napoleon Hill. He really is. But he's still alive. You know, if you ever want to get any of his stuff, he's got some rad stuff. I just beta tested, just finished his beta test for the Inner Winner, and that is an app you can get on your smartphone. You can get it on your smartphone on a iPhone only right now.
Wow.
But it's so cool. You got to get it. So check this out. He's got the special music in there. That's like puts you like in an alpha state, right? It's got the and he's got like 5 different musics that you can listen to that if you don't like the sound of it. And then he has it where he can talk to you, like his affirmations. He calls them confirmations. And then you can listen to them, or you can read them. This is the cool part. This is the best part. And you can read them, and then you can put that music that he has into it, and it's in your phone, and he has like, and they're like, you can listen to him over and over. So basically, it's about getting that vision, right? And then once you get that vision, then confirming that vision with your affirmation, with the confirmation of who you are. And you know, he's the master blaster of neuropsychology, if you want to know the truth. Him and his daughter, Deborah Waitley, they're good friends of mine. So check that out. I mean, I just tested it.
What's the name of that app?
It's called Inner Winner. And Inner Winner, and he was the one that changed my life. I mean, you know, I can say a lot for Napoleon Hill, okay? He was the second guy. When I listened to stuff, Napoleon Hill was my guy. I mean, that was the guy. Uncle Nap Hill was in my ear. And so, you know, Dennis Waitley's the one who really changed my life. And like I said, that was my church. Basically, that was renewing my mind. Was his words, you know, put into context to understand of becoming the person that I wanted to become. And then I had some friends come along. Some mentors that, you know, with bodybuilding. Because I was a big surfer, and all I wanted to do was be a professional surfer. And then a friend of mine introduced me to a bodybuilder. He's a champion bodybuilder. And I met his girlfriend, and I was like, wow, how do you get one of those? And he's like, come to the gym, you'll find out. And I'm like,
all right.
Okay, whatever you say.
Hey, so we've been talking a lot about what makes a guy healthy. So let's flip this around a little bit. I'd like to see your perspective on, in your own life and kind of in your sphere of influence and the people you see. What do you think it is that makes guys unhealthy, or what's some of our biggest struggles that you see? And if you have any personal stories or whatever.
I would say apathy is probably the enemy of men. I would say lack and laziness and anything that would be like where you're sitting on a chair and drinking a beer and you're not doing anything else but watching the TV. That is like the enemy of us. So for me, it's like, let me just tell you a story. Oh man, I'll tell you. Okay, listen, I don't work out because I'm an addict. I'm an addict to working out. Okay, I mean, I'll just admit it. I love working out. And when I don't work out, oh dude, watch out. I'm a grumpy bear, man.
Really?
I don't, maybe my testosterone goes up or something. But I'll tell you, it's when I work out, I get a natural high. When I think that God designed us, I think He designed us to be doing something, whether we're hiking, whether we're riding a bike, whether we're working on something with our hands, and we're putting physical energy and effort into it. I mean, if you look at the body, see, I love bodybuilding, right? Because the reason I love it is because I love to destroy my body. I love to go into the gym and just wreck my muscles. I love to go in and press as hard as I can, for as long as I can until I'm done. And then I know I did my job. But the thing that happens to me is that I feel so invigorated when they come back. Whatever we throw at it, our body will build it back. I mean, if you have injuries and stuff like that, it's a little more difficult. But you can work around it. And I'll tell you, you got to work around it because it's the only thing that really bakes my mind where I feel I feel good. I feel good. I can talk to people. I can talk to anybody anytime, but it just makes me a lot happier.
You
know what I mean?
That's awesome.
So, so this, like I said, it's like in the morning, my favorite thing to do is, and I like to get the stuff out of the way, so that way I can just work. And then if distractions happen, whatever comes my way, I don't have to think about, like, at the end of the day, which is very difficult to do, is work out because my energy level is zapped. And I like to work up. I like to wake up early, get it done. So meditation, the visualization, the quietness, and then working out, and then eating. And then once I'm done doing those things in the morning, dude, you can throw anything at me, and I feel like I've already won the lottery. You know what I mean? Where
that's cool.
I feel good. It doesn't matter. I stay calm. And there's a couple other things, like in the middle of the day. If you get, like, in the middle of the day, because the best program I can say is to do that in the morning, and then in the middle of the day, sit a time out and visualize what it is that you want to accomplish as you've already accomplished it, and get excited about it. And then at night, the same thing. And I'm telling you, things just happen. It's like the law of attraction. Things happen. And the people come into your life that need to be there, and the deals come into your life that need to be there, and things just happen. And that's like the perfect scenario. Everything else is like work, and everything else is like just whatever you do. But the things that really matter are those spiritual things that really will take you into a realm of, like, ecstasy and accomplishment, into the direction of your dreams, that destiny that you ultimately desire. And so that's the healthy part. So, like what you said, the question was, what's unhealthy and what's healthy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty. So the healthiest thing you could do is, work out, walk around the block. Jim Rohn would say, start with an apple a day, walk around the block. And you know what? Just getting out of the house and doing something like that will change your life. If you do it, you have to do it over and over, but just do it. If you don't,
well, I love your acronym about PMA, and the last word there is action, and that's like the opposite of apathy is action. Take action and get things going.
You're absolutely right.
So that's pretty cool.
You know what?
Hey, so here,
you know what really?
Go ahead.
I'll just want one more thing. It's like the thing that really I think guys might have I know for me, like I have to make phone calls every day. Okay, I have to make 20 phone calls a day, and it's like if I don't do it, and I know that I committed myself to do it, I feel horrible. I mean, it's like an integrity thing. I got this thing. I should send it to you. My friend Don Hobbs. He's a big time trainer. Goal marketing guy. He's probably one of the biggest in the country. And he's got this thing right here. I got it on my I'm looking at it right now on my mirror, and because I read it every day, right? And basically, it's about commitment. It really comes down to commitment. And commitment is what turns dreams into reality. And this is what it says: my choice is what I want, and my commitment is what allows me to have it. Let me read that again. My choice is what I want, and my commitment is what allows me to have it. And it's a really simple process. And it's a three-part process. Number one, I look at what I want. Number two, I choose it. And number three, I commit to it. And there's one thing in here that really gets me. This thing's a little too long to read the whole thing, but I'll send it to you. And it's this. It says this. It says, I can commit to anything: a person, a job, a way of life, losing 10 pounds, or a way to spend my weekend. It doesn't matter what I commit to. Now, here's the important part. What matters is the relationship I develop with myself by committing to what I want. Bam!
Wow.
That is so powerful.
That is.
Because once you realize that you commit to something, whatever it is, a person, a job, a way of life, 10 pounds, whatever, when you commit to it, it's all of a sudden, it's like I was saying about when I don't make my 20 calls, dude, I feel like I did. I feel like I broke a commitment, and it's like a commitment with myself, and that's what really messes me up. And there's the last part of that. The next paragraph. It says the painful part is letting go of the attachment of not getting what I want. And that's, and that's the thing, is that when we commit to something, we need to, I don't care if it's a walk around the block, an apple a day, do it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you'll build this strand in your brain, and it will be strong. And the next thing you know, you'll do something else. You'll start making your bed, or you'll do something positive. And so
that's cool.
That commitment thing is really, really big, and it's really big that you commit, not to your wife and to whoever. The big thing to commit to is yourself, because you have nobody else. You have yourself and your integrity, and I think that's what commitment really brings, is integrity to your word and integrity to yourself. And like I said, when I was sitting on that jetty and I was having a real moment, and that's what it was. It was a commitment to myself, commitment to God, commitment to myself, saying, hey, you know what, I got to do something. And then one thing happens after another, and then you commit to one thing, and then that one thing changes your life. Now, if you look back at my friends who I used to hang out with back then, they weren't lucky enough, or they weren't blessed enough to have the opportunity, or maybe they did have the opportunity, but they didn't commit to it. And if you look back at those friends of mine, they're not around anymore. A lot of them aren't even alive. And I could just say one thing, and that is, glory to God, and I thank Him every day for Him reaching back to me when I reached out to Him. And sometimes you might not hear from Him, but you know what? He always talks to you one way or another, and maybe not at the moment you think you're going to hear it. So you just got to keep that faith.
Cool. Hey, I got two more things I want to ask you. The first one is, and you already gave this pretty powerful story about the Eddie, and also that time with your dad walking out of juvie. But what if you look back over your life? And I'm just curious, maybe you covered it, and you can pass on this if you want to. But if you look back over your life, and when there was times when you're heading in one direction that maybe wasn't so healthy, and something happened, like either you met a person, you read a book, a circumstance came up, or whatever. But can you think of key times other than what you talked about in your life where something really dramatically happened, or maybe a slow process or whatever, something happened? One day you were going one way, the other day you were heading in another direction. What can you think of key times in your life when something like that happened?
Okay. Well, we all have our plans, right? I mean,
right.
As a goal setter, as a junkie of self-development and all that stuff, right? We got it all figured out, especially the teenagers. Hey, you know what? I'm gonna be the best built man in the world. I'm gonna conquer the world, and I'm gonna be the top action actor, and then I'm gonna be a real estate investor, and I'm gonna be the richest man, Donald Trump. You got it all figured out, right? You got your goals written down, all that stuff. But I'll tell you, one of the biggest days that ever turned my life around was my kids. I mean, you go from this guy that A-type personality that's got it all figured out, and then all of a sudden you have a child, and then you're like, oh my God, there's more future than just my own. And and then you start thinking about a future, and everything just revolves around your child and your wife and your family. That's the thing that happened to me as a Christian, really. When I found Christ in my life, the material things that I thought were so important, Hollywood and making movies and all this stuff, they just became dust, compared to the core things in life that you really realize are the most important things. And that is your family. The closest thing to your heart is your daughter, your son, your wife, and then the future for who they are and what they are going to become. That's how I ended up in Idaho. I mean, it was one little step at a time. But the moment you're talking about, I would say that's when I became born again as a Christian. And it was like semi-gradual, but not really. I mean, my eyes were open, my spirit was changed, and then things just really, really changed around. And I'd be working in LA, and then and then all of a sudden now it's like, you know what? I don't even want to be in the movie industry anymore. My westerns, my more westerns I want to develop, it wasn't like, I made a decision on paper and this is what I'm going to do. It was like my heart changed. And so I was just, okay, God, this is not healthy for my family. This will end up getting me divorced. And so I walked away. I walked away from Hollywood. I walked away from making movies. I walked away from all that stuff, and I went back into real estate, which I was doing when I was younger. And I worked with my family back in San Diego. And I never moved to LA because I never wanted to raise my kids and my family there. Just because it was like, like living in Spokane, or no offense to anybody living in Spokane, but something like that, big city. And so the same thing happened to me with moving to the mountains. That was another thing. I told my dad I had a huge business in San Diego, mortgage company, had boat in the marina, lived on the beach and all that stuff. And I just felt like, hey, you know what? This isn't where I'm supposed to be. I feel like God wants us to raise our kids in the mountains in Idaho. And my dad thought I was absolutely nuts. But you know what? You want to know the truth about that? My dad lives here now, and he's 90 years old.
Oh, really? Really?
Yeah. So I mean, so those. I think we all have little turning points in all our, in lots of parts of our life. But I think that the biggest thing is to really be in tune with the Spirit of God. And if you don't know that Spirit, I would say, hey, you know what? Look to the stars, look to the skies, look to the rivers, the animals, and just ask yourself a question: how did this come about? You know, and just start researching it. If you don't believe, try to prove it wrong. There's several people that have tried to prove it wrong, and they ended up seeing the truth, and it set them free. So, that's what's really gotten me. That's why I live here in North Idaho, for a God family and country, and
All right.
And I love people.
Hey,
to inspire
we're about out of
to do what I do.
Yeah. We're about out of time here, Mike. But let me finish this up with one grand finale question. So, Mike, okay. I have put a magic wand in your hand and a crown on your head. You are like the king of the world. You can do anything you want. And what would you do with this magic wand to make men's health, like men, more healthy? What do you think is the number one or maybe two things that would totally change everything?
The number one thing I would do, and it's actually part of my purpose in life, and that is to dig into these men and into their hearts and pull out the key that opens the door to their life, and that's the key to their purpose. And because the two most important days in your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why. And
that's good.
That's the most important day you'll ever have.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you see your child when they're first born, I think that's one of those keys. Your purpose changes.
Yeah.
So I mean,
wow, that's really
the biggest thing, and that's kind of like what I'm. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. With anything like what we're doing right here, Napoleon Hill Foundation, Dennis Waitley, or anything like that, is so I can give back. Just what I've been given. If I help one person, that's a good thing.
That's cool. All right, so let's wrap it up this way. I don't know if I never talked to you about this, so I'm kind of dumping on you at the last minute. But if you want people to get a hold of you, or hey, if everybody out there that's listening, if you want to have a vacation home or move to this beautiful place, you got Mike is a realtor in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and that place is just gorgeous. That big lake with the rolling hills and the mountains around there, skiing. It's just spectacular. And but once you wrap it up with any final closing thoughts on men's health, and then if you want people to get a hold of you, how would people contact you?
Oh yeah, well they can text me, email me. I'm here in Coeur d'Alene. I don't have an 800 number, but if you ever if you want to call me, I'm always available. And you can reach me on my cell phone directly at 208-818-3370. That's Mike Green and my number again is 208-818-3370. You can reach me by email. You can reach me on my email anytime. Z, it's really easy. It's just like my name. Z in front of my name. Z like zebra. Z Mike Green at Gmail. And that's with no E on the end.
I'll put that in the show notes.
Yeah, and if I'm always to help people discover their purpose. That's part of what I do. I have a good friend of mine, and I'm collaborating with him. Actually, my wife is right there right now, and they have a called Brush Fires, and basically it helps people discover their purpose, and it really is intensive. It was an 8-week course that we were doing, just because it's so intensive, but it's very, very accurate. And right now we're doing it. I'm not there this weekend, but it's a 2-day course right now with Brush Fires Ministries, and it's taking it to the secular as well. But it's really about your purpose and what God designed you for. But yeah, and so you got my number there. If anybody wants help with that, I'm always open to do that. I haven't set up a website or anything like that. I just help people one at a time, that kind of thing. Because I run a business. I run a couple businesses as well. But I always make time for people that are put in my path.
You've been listening to the 4 Pillars of Men's Health with Dave Skattum. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit the4pillarsofmenshealth.com.